Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and I am back for a special video today, bonus video for you guys today, because it is December 10th, 2023. More importantly, it is Doom's 30th anniversary. Good Lord, do I feel old. But you know what? Had to do a 30th anniversary video for Doom. I mean, come on, 30 years. So much is happening with Doom right now. We're going to talk about that later. But you know what? I was really debating what I wanted to do for the Doom's 30th anniversary. Thought about doing a stream. Thought about doing a couple different types of videos. And you know what? I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not going to go all out and do a bunch of crazy things and have a stream or anything like that, but I am just going to do I'm going to have Doom playing in the background. I'm going to play some Doom with the Tobii accessibility mod, so you'll have something to watch, you'll have something to hear. I can promote the Tobii accessibility mod because it's awesome. Shout out to Mr. Alan D1 right up front and the rest of his dev team. Because 30 years, it was available a couple years before that, but I think it really came into its own this year. The Tobii accessibility mod has hit a really, really good place right now, and it's only continuing to improve. And 30 years later, people say, well, it's too late to add accessibility to a game or whatnot. This just goes to prove, no. I mean, Doom, people are still modding it. They're still doing stuff with the game today, including making it available to a whole new audience, blind and visually impaired players. So we're going to fire up some classic Doom. We're not going to have we're going to use, just a horizontal mouse look. We're not going to do anything with like brutal Doom or anything like that. Other than the Tobii extra audio files and stuff, we are going to play this. I'm just going to hit enter on every default option.
Which episode?
We're going to do Knee Deep in the Dead. We're going to do... I could do Ultraviolence, but since we're going to be talking, we're just going to do, the default. And, we're going to talk about the impact that Doom has had, celebrate Doom, talk about some of my memories of the game. I've been playing this game visually for 30 years now. And as you can tell by my avatar, several playlists on the channel, several streams, Doom is my favorite game of all times. It is what really got me into PC gaming. It is what really got me into first-person shooters. Especially the retro first-person shooters, the 90s-esque boomer shooters, retro shooters, boom shoots, I don't care what you want to call them. One of my favorite genres of gaming of all time. So, Doom is pretty important. To me, but to a lot of other people. I remember when this game came out. I was probably 13 years old or so about that point. And the first time I played Doom, it was the shareware version, probably right after 1993 or 1994. I didn't play it at home because I didn't have my own computer that could run it yet. I had, I think by that time I had on loan a IBM XT computer. No hard drive, 2 floppy drives. I mean, sound card not even close.
Shells.
You had to run it off of boot disks, so it was not running Doom. But by that time I was in high school, junior high school, and I would attend 2-3 times a year, maybe 4, I don't know, 3 times a year or so. They had these long training weeks at the the School for the Blind, and I would go to these, and I actually kind of liked it because, hey, it was an excuse for me to get away from home, I like living at home. I love my parents and everything, but like I love being on my own. Um, I, Growing up in the middle of nowhere, I didn't have. I had a couple friends, but really only a couple close friends. I was really kind of the black sheep of the tiny class that we did have. Um, Graduating class of 21. Yeah, beat that. But when I went to these other, when I went to the school for the blind, I would meet other people that were like, they were like me because they had vision impairments, but there were also people that were like, hey, I like heavy metal, I like video games, whatever it is, they had similar interests to me. And like I said, middle of nowhere, you grew up on the farm, you were working your butt off on the farm. I didn't really socialize that much because A, I couldn't get anywhere, and B, I was too busy working. I did a little bit here and there, but it was, people were into sports, people were into, whatever, and all the other guys were pretty much in town, except for maybe one other person. They were in town, so I really didn't have a lot to do, fun-wise. So I became a nerd. Even on the old XT computer, I was dinging around, doing what I could, trying different things and whatnot. But during one of these weeks, I believe they called it Specific Skills, which is kind of a weird name, but hey, whatever. It was this week-long thing. You go up there and it's kind of like what you would call a transition program these days, where blind vision impaired students would get some training on things like O&M, technology, Braille, all of that kind of stuff. And then they had times where you'd bring your homework along with you, and then you had to try to do as much of your regular coursework for that week you were out. So yeah, we would do that. But in the technology lab, the technology teacher's son also came in from time to time, and he would install things on these DOS machines. One of two things that he happened to install were the Doom and Wolfenstein 3D shareware. And he's like, dude, check this out, you gotta see this. And by that point, it was, like I said, 93. I had played Atari, I had played Nintendo, I had played Sega Master System, hell, I'm sure I played Genesis by that point. And I was used to side-scrollers, I was used to overhead games, kind of more cartoony. I mean, yeah, you had more serious games, because I'm trying to remember when Mortal Kombat came out, like Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat. They were like, what are they, like 92, 93? I don't remember. But games were starting to mature a little bit. And just shout out to Frank. Man, he tuned me into. I got to see Wolfenstein 3D, and that was amazing on its own. Yeah, they were cartoony, but they were like, you were running around in first person. This wasn't a side-scrolling game. You were looking down the barrel of a gun. You were running around shooting Nazis with a pistol, machine gun, minigun. And we didn't even have sound cards in these computers, so it was crappy ass PC speaker. So you were just hearing the little blips and squeaks and the really obnoxious sound effects that you would get from a PC speaker. And that was cool on its own. He's like, oh, you like Wolfenstein, do you? Let me show you another little game. And he booted up Doom. Literally what we're playing right now. Minus the Toby stuff. And like, if I thought Wolfenstein was cool, holy hell, like Doom was amazing. Again, you were shooting from the first person perspective. But this time you weren't fighting Nazis. Like, fighting Nazis was cool enough. But now, I could even tell just by, playing the first level or two. Like, okay, Wolfenstein, it was all, everything was a flat, flat floor, mazes, all right angles, and then you were going through these, labyrinthian levels. And everything was uniformly lit. Like I said, everything was right angles. It was simple but elegant level design for what it could do. And then I played Doom. And you come out in E1M1. Now, keep in mind, I didn't even know about the Kick-Ass soundtrack yet. We'll get there later. Shitty PC speaker. And just the graphics alone, though, like, you start in E1M1, you've got zombies with pistols and shotguns, and then you see the imp for the first time. You see the pinky demon. You see this big pink monstrosity trying to chew your face off. You're in these levels that are
access granted.
They're not just flat levels. They have stairs, they have elevators, they have curved walls. But more importantly, they had the diminished lighting. They had the flickering, diminished lighting effects, and we're going to get into that once we get into the secret area right up here. Look at it. It's pretty brightly lit. There we go. Right now. But when I go in here, like, look at that. You got that strobe effect of the lights flashing. And I thought it was just cool. And then I saw the shotgun. Like, Doom to this day is known like one of, if not the best shotgun in video games. It's debatable. You have the Doom shotgun that I have here, and then you have the super shotgun from Doom 2, which is just pure glorious. And then you have the Fear shotgun, is probably the top three. Soldier Fortune had a pretty mean one too. You could just eviscerate people, but like, I would say the super shotgun, even the Doom shotgun, the super shotgun, and the Fear shotgun are some top three contenders for the best shotguns in video games. And like I said, Wolfenstein, you had your pistol, you had your machine gun, you had your minigun, which is cool. But Doom is what made me just like, yeah, man, shotguns are my favorite weapons in video games. They're consistent. If they're done well, like, they have the boom, they have the impact, knock people on their asses, explode them, eviscerate them,
armor bonus,
whatever. Shotguns are badass. And then I saw you could have a chainsaw. What? So explain to me, and I was thinking about this the other day when I was thinking about this video on Doom. You're on a base on Mars, right? And I'm trying to remember if, like, in the novels or in the manual somewhere. My question is, why in the hell would you have a chainsaw on a Mars base? As far as I know, they don't talk about terraforming the planet. There's no trees. I don't really see too much. Well, I mean, there's wood, but like, a chainsaw is not something that I would really think to bring to Mars, really. It's just funny. But just, running up to, again, a pinky demon or an imp or whatever enemy and just slicing it apart. I mean, that's cool. Like I said, games were growing up. They were getting faster, more violent. I mean, look at the whole, all the stooges in Congress and like the whole Mortal Kombat. I mean, 20 years later, 25 years later, people in Congress are still, well, the Doom and the Mortal Kombat and, I mean, that's how influential, that's how much that had influence on it. But like, I saw at this School for the Blind, I'd go to the lab in the evening and I would fire up both Wolfenstein and Doom. I would play these shareware levels. And then I came back a couple months later and he had the full games in there. And I remember like I was playing it one time. He's like, "Oh, okay. Well, hey, check this out. I have a save file here." And he brought up in Wolfenstein, he brought up Mecha Hitler, and I got to see like the bosses and like, how you had the death cam where they're like, "Let's see that again." And you see him just melt apart in pools of blood. That was wild. And then just seeing the full version of Doom. Because in the first episode, you don't really have, you don't even have cacodemons. You don't have Lost Souls. I don't remember if he had Doom 2 by that point. So I think it was still just no. It wouldn't have been Doom because it was only a few months later, and Doom 2 wasn't out for another year yet. So, but yeah, I mean, just playing that, no sound, no music, it still made an impression. I'm like, dude, I gotta play this game more. And then in 1995, I talked about this in the Growing Up Illegally Cited series that I did earlier this year, but I was accepted into a program through the University of Washington called the Do It program. Huge shout out to them. Funny enough, literally within the last week and a half, the technology lab guy, the main technology guy from that program, actually emailed me out of the blue. Shout out to Dan. He was the technology guy for that program, and learned a lot from him. And as part of the Do It program, you would go out to the university for a week or two, depending on the year in the summer. But throughout the rest of the year, you were expected to. You decided on a project that you were going to work on for the entire year, and then come back year 2 and present it to the rest of the participants. And then you were also really expected to participate in like online discussion forums and communicate with each other. And so in order to do that, if you were accepted into this program, you would be given the technology that you would need to get online and participate and do your work. And so I got this 486 DOS PC with Windows 3.1. I had a printer, I had a scanner, I had a Braille embosser. I mean, it was crazy. So yeah, I did a lot of productivity stuff. I did a lot of, this was my introduction to the internet, really, for using the internet on my own. I was blown away by that. But of course, what was one of the first things I had to do? I gotta get the id demos, man. I gotta get, the sharewares. I gotta get Doom. I gotta get Wolfenstein. I gotta play these. And again, I still didn't have a sound card in that computer because, back then, when you used JAWS for DOS, or even like ZoomText, you would use an actual hardware speech synthesizer card. It was this big-ass desktop card. I still have it in my closet. It's buried in my closet. It's not as heavy and as crazy as your modern graphics cards, but this was an old ISA card, and ISA is like this connector, that computers haven't had in them for years now. But like, literally, when I got a new computer later on, you had to have such a big enough tower because the card was so long that you had to almost wedge it in there. You almost maybe had to bend the card just a tish to get it through the case. And all it did is deck talk speech. So that's what my computer had in it. So I was still playing Doom no music, no sound. But I played it, and it was cool. I learned the hard way about boot discs. I remember Doom would work on the regular boot disc that I had. But I remember Wolfenstein, the way it was programmed, it used, see, back then you had to worry about like high mem and low mem. Anybody old enough to remember this? All you youngins out there. You had to load things into high memory or low memory because you had such little amount of it to work with. And MemMaker,
Health bonus. Health bonus.
making different auto-exec files, which was the file the file that your computer uses to boot up. I remember having to learn how to edit them. I couldn't tell you how to do it now, but you had to basically allocate in how things were booted and what things got to load, so that you had enough high memory to load Wolfenstein 3D. And there was a few other games. Like I remember all of the like Doom, Doom 2, Heretic, and Hexen would load. But I think it was like Wolf 3D and Blake Stone I couldn't load without that different boot disc. So then, so that was kind of the first year. The second year I went back to the Do It program, the second summer. I got there a couple days early, so I ended up staying a night with a friend of mine that I had met the previous year in the Do It program. CJ, hey man. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but that was cool. We had fun. And he showed me for the first time. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I played Doom, I was telling him like, oh yeah, I play it and whatever. But I didn't realize that it had, I was still learning about DOS, I was still learning about computers, and somehow it got on the thing where he found out I didn't know that Doom had actual, like, Sound Blaster sounds. He's like, oh, you haven't even heard the real sound effects and the music? He didn't even, I don't even remember what sound card he had. He did not have a Sound Blaster. Because what you're hearing right now is pretty much... it's a little better than the originals, like the original Sound Blaster, but the original Sound Blaster sounds it was neat, but if you had a better card, it was phenomenally cool. Like, if you had the Sound Blaster MIDI, the music was, just but if you had a good sound card, you had the full, like, bass kick drums in there. You had, like, a much fuller, much richer sound. And so he fired this thing up on his computer. He had a subwoofer and everything. And he loaded up Doom. He's like, play this. I start walking around. I grab a shotgun. And I just hear this boom. I'm like, oh man, this is cool. I hear the growling enemies. I hear the imps. I hear the whoosh of the fireballs. And on top of that, right around that time, I was really starting, like, when you're young, you kind of listen to what your parents do. And to their credit, my parents are cool. Like, they grew up on classic, what I would call classic rock, 60s, 70s, even 80s. My dad likes Black Sabbath. My I think my mom's favorite band is AC/DC. So hell yeah, that's awesome. But I was really starting, but it was a lot of, your Led Zeppelin, your Bad Company, your classic rock. Which I loved. But then I discovered, like, Metallica, Pantera, Megadeth, Slayer, all the greats. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, on top of, like, AC/DC, Aerosmith, and stuff like that. And so I heard E1M1, kicking out with the the infamous tune with the good bass drum kicking in. And I'm like, dude, this is like Master of Puppets. This is badass. And from that point on, I'm like, I need to get a sound card for my computer. This is too cool. This is insanely cool. I need it. And so that was my goal. On top of that, I didn't just learn about sound cards.
Shells.
I learned a little thing about internet or local area network multiplayer. Because this guy was pretty well off. He had a super nice house. And okay, you know what, Pinky, you need to shut the hell up. Come here, Pinky. There we go. He had a really nice house, and he had multiple computers. And he goes, "Oh, you like Doom, do ya? Let me set this up real quick." So he was in his bedroom, and then the family room had a computer. And I got introduced to Deathmatch for the first time. And like I said, I had played, NES games. I had played like Contra and Jackal and, even like take turns multiplayer like Super Mario Brothers or, things like Double Dragon. I had done that.
Shells bonus. Shells.
And that was cool.
Shells bonus. Health bonus.
But
Armor bonus.
running around in first person with MIDI metal music playing, the boom of the shotgun, the whoosh of the rocket launcher, just all the weapons, the chain gun, the chainsaw, the BF frickin' G, the plasma rifle. And you're not just fighting enemies, you're fighting your friend in the next room. And it's not split screen. You get your own screen. My mind was blown. I'm like, holy shit, Nintendo can't do this. I'm like, Nintendo is cool. I was obsessed with Nintendo.
Armor bonus.
But as soon as I saw, Wolfenstein 3D and Doom, even the sharewares, I was like, this first person thing is just incredible, and I need as much of it as I can. So it was so funny because I went to my second year of the Do It program and whatnot, and what I ended up doing, because I have a whole bunch of relatives out there in that area as well, so I would do the Do It program thing, and then I would have my aunt pick me up at the end of it, and I would stay another week in the Seattle area because I had a whole bunch of relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, and so I stayed another week, and I would just go, I kind of like, I used one of my aunt's houses as a home base, and because I got along with a couple of my cousins, Eric and Jeremy, and so I would go there, but then I would get together, we'd have barbecues, or we would I would go meet with some of my other cousins, some of my other aunts, uncles, and it was a blast.
Health bonus.
And my cousin Eric, he goes, okay, you're into technology. They had a computer too, and they had a sound card, but they didn't have the good one. They had, that was where I heard the Sound Blaster version. But he's like, oh, you like these kind of things? Well, let me show you. There's a store called Incredible Universe. Sadly, it is no longer a thing. I've talked about it on the channel before, but Incredible Universe was aptly named. Incredible Universe was freaking cool. So one day we walk there. We walk to the mall, get some chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, and we go into Incredible Universe. And my jaw just hit the frickin' floor. You go in, yeah, we have things like Best Buy, CompUSA, Circuit City, those types of stores. But Incredible Universe, its whole shtick was like, it was the size of like a Micro Center. It was the size of like a Best Buy. But there were, and this is when we had all of these, like, video games had really come back. We had Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. We had all these other, we had like the Saturn kind of becoming a thing soon. We had the 3DO, the Jaguar, all these different things. We had computers, and along a lot of the shelves, and especially around the perimeter of the store, they would just have TVs and video games set up, multiple Super Nintendos, multiple Genesises, and we would, you would just go and they would just have different games in them, so you'd play. Like, I remember playing Virtua Fighter and being blown away by the polygons. I remember playing systems I had never played before, games I never played before. Then you got tired of doing that. You walk over and you go into the movie theater type of little area, and you had bigger TVs, and you could sit down and watch a movie for a while. They had some of these, geeky physical puzzles you could play with, like block puzzles and stuff. And then you got tired of that. You walk over to another part of the store that had these really amazing massager chairs, reclining massager chairs. So you'd be playing games for a while. You could just, in that store, we were there, I think, from like 1 o'clock until probably 5, 6 o'clock, and it was a blast. So, like, you kind of wonder how they made money, because kids would just go in there and play stuff, and, like, hopefully, of course, it was trying to entice store customers to buy something, but, like, kids didn't have money, so we could go to that store and play stuff. And I remember we would be looking at the PC discs, and I'd be asking my cousin, because it was hard for me to read the labels and stuff. I'm like, I want Doom. I want the Doom. I want anything first person. So we'd be looking at the back of these little sleeves and stuff, and we'd be looking at. I'd be trying to find anything that was remotely like Doom. So I was like, again, that's how I found like Ken's Labyrinth. I remember I found Witch Haven 2 Blood Vengeance. I don't remember if I've unlocked that video yet. If I haven't, I will soon. I have one recorded for it. The first Witch Haven I didn't play right away. I played 2 before 1 because I couldn't find 1. But 2 is actually a better game. I really didn't like 1 that much, but like Blakestone, there was one Ken's Labyrinth, Rise of the Triad. My cousin knew about that game, so it was like, dude, check this out. You can put this code in, and like you turn into a god and shoot like fireballs or energy balls, or you do another code and like people's eyeballs fly at you on the screen. I'm like, no way. So I was obsessed. Like anything Doom clone, as they called them back then. That's what they called them. I was just everything Doom. It had to be Doom. Quake came out in, was it 96 or 97? I don't even remember. But I remember one time I went out there and it was, I did end up seeing Quake as one of the kiosks at Incredible Universe. I don't remember if it was the first time I went there or not. My timeline is a little bit muddier. I don't remember when Quake came out as clearly. But yeah, I mean, I have so many memories of seeing that shareware demo or the shareware version at the School for the Blind, then getting it for myself but still playing it with no sound, hearing the sound for the first time, playing multiplayer locally for the first time. Then I had a mishap happen. I was laying in bed one morning. It was the weekend, actually, I think. And it was, somewhere between 6 and 8 o'clock a.m. And I'm laying in bed, not wanting to get up. And all of a sudden, we just hear this, just really loud-ass sound. I'm like, what was that? A couple minutes later, I think my dad came in my bedroom. You might want to look at your computer. I'm like, why? Turns out, we had rain, we had a thunderstorm, and lightning had hit our house. It came in through the phone line, fried the ever-loving hell out of the phone jack that my modem was plugged into, fried my modem, and as it turned out, it fried my computer. It fried my motherboard. I turned it on. Nope, nothing. I was crushed. I was like, oh my God, no. And it took forever to get it fixed. I'm trying to decide whether I want to do the bonus level. I think we're just gonna move on to the next mainstream level because I don't know. I just don't feel in the mood for E1M9 right now. But so my computer got struck by lightning. Following week, called in, had to call up Dan and be like, I hate to tell you guys, but yeah, my computer got fried this weekend by lightning. How can we go about getting that fixed? So we brought it into a local computer shop in a town nearby, but it was taking forever for, I don't know what was going on with like the getting the purchase order or authorization or getting something, because it was literally like, I remember calling, it had to, again, my now that I'm older, I'm distorting things a little bit, but back then it felt like months. I would be calling the local computer store. Have they approved the repair yet? Has anything happened yet? And it just felt like I kept calling them like a couple times a week. And it had to have been at least a few months. And I finally got the news, like, okay, we're working on it, we're getting it done. We went to pick it up, and now the cool part is not only did I get it fixed, but, the parts when I got the original version of the computer, I got a little bit newer parts. So, I got the motherboard replaced. Thankfully, when they tested it, the hard drives were okay. I did not lose any data. It was literally just the motherboard and probably power supply. But whatever it was, that's what was wrecked. But on top of that, I got my own. Not only did I get a sound card, I got a good sound card. It wasn't even just a Sound Blaster. It was this other, it wasn't the AWE32, the Sound Blaster, but it was like this AW32. No idea what brand it was. But one trick my friend taught me was that, instead of choosing Sound Blaster for music, you could choose that for sound effects. But if you chose General MIDI when you selected your music device, because remember, back then, in the DOS days, you didn't just fire up a game. You installed it, and then you had to run a separate setup file where you would choose your sound card, you would choose your music device, you had IRQs, DMAs, you had conflicts. Oh, it was just a bowl of fun. Barrel of fun. So yeah, not only did I get a sound card, but I got a good one, and I got a simple
Armor bonus.
2.1 speaker. I had a subwoofer and 2 speakers. I was like, man, I'm gonna so fire up some Doom when I get home, and I did, and it was freaking awesome. So around that time again, there was another person that I started talking to at school. Don't remember how we kind of started talking. He was actually the elementary school's principal's son, and so we started talking about PC games, and he played Doom and stuff. So, like I said, I had played local multiplayer Doom with CJ in Washington, but now I got tuned into. He's like, "Hey, let's set up our computers, and we'll dial into each other, and we'll play multiplayer over the dial-up internet." And I thought that was just the coolest thing. He showed me this thing called Dwango, and around that time I was getting like the Heretic and the Hexen shareware episodes. So I was all in with this, and there was Dwango, and I don't remember if it was a different one.
Shotgun.
But it was this little launcher where you'd launch it, you would connect to somebody, it had a little chat interface, text chat, and then you had radio buttons that you could switch. You could say, okay, we're gonna play this time. We're gonna play if we both had the game, we could play Doom, Doom 2, Heretic, or Hexen. We could play Deathmatch, or we could play co-op through any of these campaigns, any of these episodes. And I remember having fun with that, but I also remember driving my parents absolutely nuts because we didn't get a separate phone line. Again, this was when, dial-up, for all you young people out there, the internet hasn't always been just as it is now. Like, you had to dial in through a phone, which was super, super slow to begin with. But then on top of that, if you wanted to make sure that you didn't get kicked off, you had to have your own phone line, because if your parents picked up the phone, it would disconnect you. And hold on a second, I get a drink of water here. Here we go. And also, like, because we only had the one phone line, it was tricky because we would be trying to configure things, and we were learning too. We didn't know what we were doing, and so we would call each other on the phone. Thankfully, we had a cordless phone. I'd bring it back there, and we were like, okay, change this setting to this, change that number to that, blah blah blah. Then we would hang up, and then one of us would call the other person, and then so our phone would ring, and our parents had to know not I would not do this when my dad was home, because he would have killed me. It would have drove him nuts. Hell, it drove my mom nuts, and she got mad at me eventually. But we would call, we'd do a voice call, we would figure things out, and then we had to call modems, test that out. Oh, it didn't work. So then we had to call each other back on the phone and be like, okay, that didn't work. What if we tried this setting here? And it went on like that until we got things figured out. That's what we had to do. It was a pain in the ass, but we eventually got it working, and it was fun as hell. So we would do multiplayer, a little bit of co-op, or a little bit of deathmatch. So I learned about that. Then when I got to college,
Shotgun.
In 97, and I got broadband for the first time, I'm like, oh dear God, this is what the internet was truly meant to be. I remember thinking back in college when we had a T1 line, man, we were, this was it, man. I was going on the internet and looking for game demos, game shareware episodes, and I was playing anything and everything I could. And then I found out about Doom modding, or game modding in general. And it was like, wait a minute, you mean I can download something and I can turn Doom into Star Wars? I can turn Doom into Alien, or I can, again, South Park had come out right around 97, and people were making like South Park or Simpsons mods, and I can download more levels to play, and I can, change the way it looks and feels and play. Like, I was blown away in the fact I didn't have to dial up anymore. I played Doom Deathmatch, I played Quake 1 Deathmatch, I played the hell out of Quake 1 Deathmatch early on in college, and that was a blast. Those are some of my early memories of Doom. I should also mention when I was in high school, I went to somebody else's house, and I started seeing, like, oh, they have the different console versions of Doom coming out. And somebody had the 32X version, and, I love Doom, but let me tell you, that 32X version was shit. I did not like it. Like, you thought the Sound Blaster audio was bad? The Sega Genesis version, the 32X music, I mean, it was literally like fart noises. I mean, it was just, it was just audio diarrhea. It was terrible. And I know they did what they could, but it was so bad. Especially on, like, I had played the real thing. I had the real thing by this point. I had the PC version. I had played it online. I had a good sound card. And then I go and play the levels were different. They were not, the graphics were muddier, and then the music was just terrible. I didn't see really any of the other versions because no one could afford any of the other systems. I still have never played a physical Jaguar. I don't think I've ever even played a 3DO in real life. So those types of systems, I just never played them. But yeah, I mean, Doom. Like I said, Doom is what got me into PC gaming. It's what got me into first-person shooters. Again, first-person shooters. These retro shooters are some of my favorite games ever. Whether it's the ones that came out, and then then I went and played Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, Blood. There's so many. I can't even think of them all. I would try any one I could get my hands on, and even probably starting about 5-6 years ago, the kind of renaissance, the kind of resurrection of the retro shooters, because again, once Half-Life came out, we had things like Sin and Half-Life and games like that are still amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Half-Life. I even really like Sin, and I'm looking forward to their remake of that whenever the hell that comes out. But like, we had to progress past the Doom clones eventually and try something different. But the build engine games, you had Duke Nukem, the realism of those games. You're in a realistic environment. Oh, I'm in a bookstore. I'm in a nightclub. I'm in a like a technology lab, or I'm in a hotel, whatever. And interacting with just everyday objects. You didn't see that in other games, and so it just blew my mind. And then, Half-Life, it told a coherent story. And then there were things like Redneck Rampage. You had these kind of, like, how should I call them, B-tier type of games, but like you had these other shooters. Redneck Rampage, Outlaws was another really cool one. That was a Wild West themed one, and I remember like just being blown away by the opening cutscene that game had. Dark Forces, just so many. And then like 5 years, like again 5, 7 years ago when we started getting this resurrection of, because once Half-Life came out,
Health bonus.
you had,
Lots of health bonus.
people were trying different things, and then they had Counter-Strike, so you moved more toward the, not so much the arena shooters, not so much the just fast action blow the shit out of everything shooters, but you had team-based games. You had things would slow down a little bit. Your Counter-Strike, your Medal of Honor, your Call of Duty, but especially things like like Counter-Strike and that. Everything was going more like multiplayer, started getting more team-based. They wanted to shoot for like, I would call it more realism, where again in Doom, in the Doom, Quake, the arena shooters, you could take a beating. You get your armor, you get your health power-ups, your bonuses, your mega health, soul spheres, whatever. You can kind of take a beating. But in Counter-Strike or something, like, you get hit once and you're done. Like, you're dead. And I was not good at those because A, it was harder for me to see, and by the time that I was aiming, or especially multiplayer, if I was trying to figure out if they were a friend or an enemy, I'd be already dead because you get hit once or twice, done. So I really didn't like those kind of shooters much. I tried them because so many of my friends, especially in college, got into them. But I was always more into the 90s era. Doom, Quake, Duke, Shadow Warrior, Blood, these types of games. But once we got, again, several years ago, we got things like Dusk and Amid Evil, and just some of the early ones. As I was, kind of building up my channel here, I'm like, dude, we're getting, they're going back to these types of shooters that I loved. And so I was so happy. I heard you growling over here. I was just so happy to have these types of games coming back, and to find out that so many more people, not just me, it wasn't just a visual thing. Yeah, these games were a little bit easier to see as well overall, but like, we've had 2 distinct magazines now, E1 M1. We've had Reload Magazine, which I love that title. It took me a minute to even realize, wait, Reload Magazine, that's actually a great name, because it's a play on words, You got the magazine, print magazine, but you got the magazine clip, it took me a minute to actually realize that, stupidly. But like, and then we have the FPS documentary. We've had Realms Deep. There are just as many people. There are so many people just like me that these are the shooters that we like. These are the shooters that we want to play, and that's awesome. We've had books with the Masters of Doom. I've read that at least 3 or 4 times. It's just one of those fun books, I want to read something over and relax. I know the story, but the Audible version is narrated by Will Wheaton, he's a really good narrator, actually. But I've read that several times. Just this year, John Romero, Doom Guy, Life in First Person, his kind of memoirs, and he talks about it. Like, I just soak in everything I can about these types of games, and about Doom, and about id, about Quake, all these retro shooters. So those are some of my experiences, some of my memories of Doom. But in addition to that, like I said, so those are my personal memories. But again, 30 years, we haven't even scratched the surface. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about like Doom itself. Not so much my experiences, but how much early id Software,
Health bonus.
how much they have done for the game industry and first-person shooters in general. It's just crazy. You know, it's funny because nowadays it's like, okay, you have the consoles, they're locked into their hardware for 4, 5, 6, 7 years or better, and then PCs now are known to be like, oh, if you want to get the highest fidelity and best performance, you get the PC version usually. It wasn't always like that. In the early DOS days, like computers weren't focused on, like DOS especially, they weren't focused on games. And if they were, it was simple games. It was, single screen games. Like people couldn't figure out how to, like you play something on a Nintendo and you take it for granted. You had side-scrolling, play Super Mario Brothers, play any number of 2D side-scrollers, or even overhead side-scroller, overhead games like Zelda. Well, Zelda, you had the screens too. You had a combination of going from screen to screen, but within those screens you had scrolling as well. But like that, on consoles, you took that for granted because they were specialized hardware that were for that type of gameplay. But people were thinking, well, DOS computers they're not meant to do that. And so usually if you had a side-scrolling game, it would be like you would go have like a series of obstacles or something on one screen, and then you would go to the right, and then it would shift over. The game would pause, and then it would shift over to an entirely new screen that you would play through. And that was the way that a lot of the early DOS games did it. But then the wizards, at id, John Carmack, the wizard himself, he's like, oh, I can do that. And so he made the Commander Keen, all those games. It made all those games. They were side-scrolling. Then they had like Catacomb 3D. They like, hey, let's try to do some first-person stuff. So let's do Catacomb 3D. I just went stupid. I forget the other one they did in the meantime. There's another first-person. I remember they were gonna call it It's Green and Pissed, which would have been a great game. It's Green and Pissed. That is the best. Man, I wish they would have kept that. That's awesome. But then they found out, they're like, hey, we can get the license for Wolfenstein. Let's take this, Apple II game that was stealth and like an overhead maze game, and make it into a first-person action game where you're running and mowing down Nazis with a machine gun. And then it was Doom, and it was just made history from there. Every time id made a new game, they wanted to up the technology. And I remember hearing in interviews and reading in Masters of Doom, John Romero's philosophy was like, every time we update our engine, so if we go from Doom, or from Wolfenstein to Doom, and if we're doing a level in Doom, if this level could have been made in Wolfenstein, we're doing it wrong. When they moved to Quake, if this level design could have been done in Doom, we're doing it wrong. Let's make our engines, you're taking John Carmack's engine and you're trying to show it off to the best that you can. Whether it's like colored lighting, whether it's like sloped walls or different types of in this game, it looks 3D, but there's so much 2D to it. There's, the 2D sprites. And then there's also, you can't, by default anyway, you can't have, without hacks, you can't have like a multi-story level. I can't have an upstairs and a downstairs right on top of each other. You know, I can have stairs that go up and down, but again, it's going to be, you know, like I go up these stairs right here, and it's going to be moving forward. I can't go upstairs and then go back and then have another floor on top of back there. Quake, you could. So that was sort of their philosophy, is like, let's show off this engine. If a level could be done in the previous engine, we're not doing it right. And that was a really cool way to not only show off the engine, but really think critically about how they were making their games. And it's amazing that they pumped out as many games as they did. I mean, once they were at soft disk, and then they broke away and formed id Software, like these guys, the number of things that they introduced and like made happen in video games. You know, they brought smooth scrolling to PC for side scrollers. They made first person, like we had first person games before, but they were slow. RPGs were, you know, they weren't action. They were like turn-based, or they were just like slower. Again, RPGs, or you know, things that really didn't require a lot of fast movement. And then they got, you know, again with Wolfenstein 3D, and I'm kind of skipping over Catacombs and stuff like that because not near as many people played them. I played them a little bit, and they're cool as a piece of history. But Wolfenstein 3D was where they really first got things going. But I mean, as fast as you move in Doom and Wolfenstein and all these boomer shooters, it was just crazy. You know, we'd never played anything like that before. And it wasn't, you know, you think about a lot of Nintendo games, especially 8-bit games, you know, you had, I'm trying to think of how to word this, like the sound effects were, you know, you had the Mario sounds, you had kind of arbitrary, like boing, and, you know, just weird, like, sound effects to represent, like, even in, like, you know, Contra, you would, when you died, you'd hear this, you know, you would hear these kind of just not realistic sounds. But then with Doom and Wolfenstein, like, you were hearing Nazis scream things in German. You were hearing the growling, like right now. There's this super dark room in front of me. You hear the demons. You hear the zombies. You hear the fireballs whooshing at you. And these are like real sound effects. They're not like boops and blips like you're used to. And yeah, we're still using MIDI, but we were getting like, you know, heavy metal music. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some banger 8 and 16-bit music, like some of the most memorable video game music, some of my favorite video game music is on the NES. I mean, the Mario themes, the Zelda themes, Metroid, Journey to Silius, Blaster Master, Batman, Ninja Gaiden. I could go on and on. But like I said, I was getting into heavy metal. And hearing the music in Doom was awesome. People were trying to mod Wolfenstein 3D, but the problem with doing that is if you tried to mod it, like you literally had to overwrite files that were, so if you overwrote a file, that file was gone. So like if you, let's say you turned a Nazi into, I don't know, Homer Simpson, that Nazi sprite would be gone then unless you had a backup of that file. So they're like, oh, well, we think it's a great idea if people are able to mod our games, but let's see if we can make it so we can do it in a less destructive way. We can keep all of the original stuff, all the original files, but then we add these extra WAD files, where's all the data is what it stands for, and I have the choice. Do I want to play with vanilla regular Doom enemies and level textures and things? or do I want to turn it into something else? I can just load additional things. And so if I want to play Aliens, I can turn the zombies into xenomorphs or whatever. And then if I want to go back to playing regular Doom next time, I can. It was just so they really are one of the first games that fully embraced modding, especially in like a big action game. You know, there were other games where you could make like, you know, pinball tables or, you know, kind of write little text adventures or something, but like, you know, a big action game like this, that's what id really helped pioneer. So many people got into the industry by making Doom levels, Doom mods. I mean, you know, you probably talk to anybody who made any sort of, like, you talk about the what would you call them, the build engine shooters, or Quake, or any number of, if a company was going to make a first-person shooter, odds are a lot of their level designers probably started making levels and mods for Doom. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta concentrate on getting rid of some of these dudes in this giant room here. So that was huge. I mean, tons of people got into the game industry that way. But also, like, think about this. Like, if you had the shareware game and then you bought the full game, like, you could go, if you got the internet, even on dial-up, you could download levels and you could basically have infinite replayability. You could get multiplayer levels, you could get single-player maps, you could get, you know, entirely different, you know, total conversions, turning Doom into an Aliens game, into Simpsons, South Park, take your pick, something totally original. Different music, different sound effects, even just changing weapon behaviors, adding new weapons. You could do all of those types of things. There's just so many things. Yeah, there's so many things that you could do. There was something else I just had in the back of my head that I really wanted. That's why I got quiet for a second. I was trying to remember where my train of thought was going, and it's not something that people really. I know it was something that not a lot of people think of, but Doom also did. It has something to do with mods and creators. What the heck was it?
Armor bonus.
You know, making maps, making levels, playing multiplayer, online, LAN. God, I hope I think of it, because it is something that was also really important, that Doom did.
Armor bonus. Red access granted. Clip. Shotgun bonus.
Now let's use the rocket here.
Shotgun.
There we go. A couple rockets to the face, no problem.
Armor bonus.
But yeah, I mean, so influential. And you know, the whole thing of, it's become a meme at this point, but can it run Doom? It's kind of like, can it run Crysis? And it's not just, can a computer run it? Like, they're getting Doom to run on anything and everything. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I watched a video about a week or two ago, literally, where a guy wanted to see how, because, you know, basically potato batteries, he filled up his garage or his room with hundreds or thousands of potatoes and wired them together to make enough voltage to see if he could run some version of Doom.
Soul Sphere.
Like, how many potatoes would it take to run Doom? And he couldn't get it originally the way he wanted, but he did get a calculator version, a graphing calculator version of Doom running with a whole bunch of potato batteries. I mean, people have had it on like gas pumps,
Partial invisibility.
home appliances, pregnancy test. Like, what? A pregnancy test? I saw that and I thought it had to be a joke. You know, you think about like, oh, you can get it running on a calculator, you get it running on, you know, shitty console versions. But no, like I said, if it has a screen, if it has some sort of input mechanism, somebody's gonna make it run Doom. I mean, there's one even where like you could run Doom inside of Doom. Like you'd run a thing that would have a computer, and then you could run Doom inside of Doom. I mean, you know, Excel, Microsoft Excel. I mean, you just anything and everything. I'm sure there's hundreds of. I don't even know how many devices they were doing that they were trying to make run Doom. So that's become a whole thing. Can it run Doom? Whoa, buddy. Yeah, you need to stop. Pinky. There we go.
Shelf bonus.
God, there was something specifically
Health bonus.
that I
Shelf.
wanted to mention, and then I did that little arena battle, and I plumb forgot. I just completely
Shotgun bonus. Armor bonus.
lost that train of thought, and it's starting to, you know, that thing when you just have something in your head
Health bonus.
and you can't think of what it was. Drives me nuts. I'm just trying to think of like so many of the things that Doom did. So many firsts. I mean, they, you know, again, it was Wolfenstein and Doom and things. The whole shareware thing, that was something that they had really started with, like Commander Keen and everything. So many other developers took advantage of the shareware model in the 90s for distributing their games. Nice. God, it was something to do with modding, I swear to God.
Health access granted.
Blue door.
So, I mean, those are some things, you know, that Doom would do.
Health bonus.
Online multiplayer. It invented the term deathmatch. Just aggressive, fast-paced multiplayer. Talking smack, LAN parties. Especially when you got to college, man. You get on a college network, and you didn't have to dial in anymore. It wasn't just modem to modem. I could have like 4-player deathmatch, and you got Quake had, what was it, like 16 players? Yeah, man, there's just so many things that it could do. Oh my God. Owie!
Shotgun.
That hurt.
Shotgun. Armor bonus. Armor bonus. Shotguns.
God, what else? You know, the way that they did the level design, the lighting, the modding,
Armor bonus.
so many things.
Armor bonus.
And the cool thing is, you know, again, we're talking about this game 30 years later. I'm playing this game, and it's still just as fun as it was in 1993. I mean,
Armor bonus.
I suppose if you're a graphics snob and you're like, oh, these old games look like crap. You know, whatever, get over it. But the game, it's just the purest form of a first-person shooter. If it moves, shoot it. Run really fast, strafe, circle strafe. If it runs, shoot it. If it moves, shoot it. Even like the bosses and stuff, like, I remember, especially when I got a sound card for the first time, and I remember I was playing, it was late at night, and I was playing episode 2, and I got to E2M8, and you hear this, you know, there's the music that you would hear in there, and it was kind of haunting. But then you listen for a minute and you hear this ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. This heavy footsteps of the cyber demon scared the crap out of me, because I walked out in this big old circular arena, and what do I see? Freaking rockets just shooting at me, and like this ginormous boss with like a ripped out stomach, and just, I mean, it was just this gnarly looking thing, and you hear this ka-chunk, ka-chunk, and then on top of that, these rockets are whooshing past your head, and it was just like, the atmosphere of it was just incredible. Kind of scared the crap out of me. I was like, oh my god, this boss is crazy. But yeah, I mean, oh, I know what it was. It was speed running. You know, because with Doom, you could record your level time. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. It was one of the first games to really promote speed running. So it's like, if you know, you get a par time in a level, and you're like, oh, well, how did they do that? You could literally play back the file. What in the world? What are you doing? Oh, my gun was going berserk for a sec. But yeah, that's what it was. It was the speed running thing. You could literally play back runs of levels to see how they did it. And so there got to be this competitive speed running community of Doom. And, you know, 20 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, the game is just still, like, I'm not bored with this at all. I've probably played Knee Deep in the Dead well over 100 times. I can't even count. I don't even want to begin to estimate how many times I've played. How many times I've played Knee Deep in the Dead alone. It's a ton. And yet, every time, it's still just like, it's almost like it's so familiar to me. It's like comfort food, man. I can just play Doom and be happy. You know, like, even if I was playing on Ultraviolent right now, you know, the later episodes are a little trickier, but like Knee Deep in the Dead, I can, there's a few kill spots that give me trouble here and there, especially later in the episode, but like, you know, I can easily do a video with this in the background, chat about it, do something else, read a book, and just blast demons. It's great. And, you know, the amount of, you know, people blame Doom, people blame violent video games for, oh, you prick, get up, hold on. People blame video games, violent video games, for the ills, just like, you know, oh, rock and roll is the devil music, or, you know, people were afraid of books back in the olden days, man. I mean, whatever medium it is, radio, movies, TV shows, video games, virtual reality, you name a new medium, people are gonna freak out about it. You're gonna have the nut jobs that that have a problem with it. I mean, I played violent video games. I was watching horror movies when I was like 7 years old with my babysitter. We were watching Nightmare on Elm Street and laughing at how cheesy and over the top the kills were. It was great. I'm not, you know, yeah, I play all kinds of violent I'm a sociopath when it comes to video games, but like in real life, I avoid fights. I've never really gotten in a fight. I don't have any desire to. I don't want to pick up a gun and kill people. Not at all. Like, if anything, it's like a healthy way to get rid of stress. You come home from a shitty day at work or school, and instead of getting in a fight with your sibling or saying something stupid that you're gonna regret to hurt somebody else, you fire up Doom or Wolfenstein and you shoot dudes in the face.
Access granted.
That's what you do. You play Mortal Kombat and rip someone's head off or spine out, you know? That's what you do. And if a kid does have problems distinguishing between reality and fiction, well, guess what? That's the kid, and that is, as a parent, is your responsibility to monitor what your kids do. If they can handle it, yeah, like I said, I played Doom when I was 12, 13 years old. I was fine. Some kids can't handle that. But be active as a parent. Know what your kids are watching, what they're doing, what they're playing. It's not the video game's fault. Besides, it's just like, like a TV show. It's funny because, there was this whole like impression or stereotype back then where it's like, oh, kids are, video games are for kids. And they started kind of in a way that way. They were more universally, partly because of the limited technology, but also just, they wanted to make as many people be able to play them as they could. But as the, I still love Mario. I'll play a 2D platformer. I'll play a cartoony style game. Not a problem. Some of those are my favorite games. But, as people grew up, they wanted just like movies and TV. They make R-rated movies, PG-13, G-rated movies. Same thing with video games, video games has become this ginormous industry that is bigger than movie and TV. And there's a lot of people, it's not just for kids, but people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are playing. I'll play video games until I die, guaranteed. Or until I'm so physically unable to in some fashion that I literally can't play them anymore. I'm not quitting playing them. Video games are awesome. And finally, like my parents have finally kind of come to that conclusion. They had a problem. Like, I remember when I went off to college, and they're like, they still kind of seem to look down on. Oh, I didn't flip that switch. They, like, you gotta give up those video games. You always hear about the stereotype opinion of, oh, a woman isn't going to date somebody because they play video games. Grow up and, grow up, basically. And now, there's just as many women gamers as there are men, and rightfully there should. That's what it should be. I think it's awesome. You don't have to be a gamer but it's like, I'm not going to stop playing video games, just like someone else isn't going to stop reading books or stop riding a bike or playing basketball or whatever. If they don't like me playing video games, well, then they can get over it and move on to somebody else. Now, now there is a problem where if you make video games your entire identity and your entire personality, but again, that's not a video game thing. That is that's just a general problem, and overall, like, you can make music your entire thing and get into arguments about genres and bands and obsess over things like that. You can get into any hobby or any topic you want and be too much into it. I love doing a lot of other things besides video games, but yeah, So no, I will still likely be playing Doom. Like if I end up in a senior citizen's home, I will probably be still playing Doom. Like, die, you damn freaking demon! Which is a really funny. Like I've heard comedians talk about that before. It's like, you know, you think of like old people now, and it's like, oh, you hear the classical music and whatever. And you know, you get to people our age, and we're going to be sitting in the senior like nursing homes, and we'll be listening to like Metallica, and be like, yeah, man, like 70, 80, 90 years old, listening to heavy metal, like listening to Black Sabbath, and still playing Doom. Back in my day, we played Doom. That's great. I look forward to that. I genuinely want to see that, because that just sounds funny as hell. But yeah, I mean, it's just done so many things, and like there are literally, whoa, who the hell, where are these fireballs coming from? Oh, probably out there. There's so many levels and mods. If you know, there's that thing of if you could only bring one game or one thing to a deserted island, what would it be? And it's safe to say you could easily make that Doom. As long as you had internet, or if you could just spend, like, let's say I could spend a week or a month researching and downloading, like I had a huge hard drive, and I could download mods and level packs and conversions. You could play Doom for 10 lifetimes and still not be able to see or play everything. Because it's just been that, like, it's never slowed down. Wait, I didn't, oh yeah, I didn't go up here and get the key. That's right, I'm like, what the hell? It's still being supported. And you have these source ports, GZ Doom. Yes, I'm playing it with a source port, but I'm playing with, again, no vertical mouse look. I'm playing the game pretty much as you would back in the day if you used the mouse. And remember, in the 90s, I didn't even play with, you know, with the mouse. I played Doom with the keyboard. Keyboard only, man. I mean, it's hard for me to go back now. But, yeah, I played Doom with just the keyboard.
Health bonus.
I didn't start playing with keyboard and mouse. I resisted it for the longest time. I still played like Half-Life and things like that with the mouse. I think it was literally around Quake 3 where I started really playing with the keyboard and mouse. I mean, I remember even Quake 3, I had this controller adapter. It was called the Adaptoid. And this is going to sound really weird, but yes, I remember playing Quake 3 Arena in college with the Adaptoid adapter. So I was playing Quake 3 with an N64 controller. That's how crazy I was back in the day.
Armor bonus.
But I mean, there's like survival maps. There's, you know, literally as technology's improved, we don't have to work in the limitations of the original engine anymore. So like, we have these like hell maps. It's like, oh, survive 300,000 enemies in one level, because the computers now can actually render that much without completely keeling over. There are levels that can make modern computers die. They can bring modern computers to their knees. Things like GZ Doom and other source ports have added extra features. I know it's a kind of a, I don't want to say controversial, but Brutal Doom is a thing that
Shotgun. Biosuit.
some people hate it, some people love it. I really enjoy it. Okay, I'm a little bit, I gotta get out of this damn, everything is so green. I wish there was more contrast. There we go. What? I kill you. There we go. But like I said, these source ports, and they do all these mods, and they make all kinds of new gameplay. But what's cooler is they've gone beyond that, and now that we've had this boomer shooter revival these last several years, they are doing things that I couldn't even dream of the Doom engine doing back in the day. I mean, Age of Hell, I just played that demo. Sulaco, basically almost making a fear-like game in Doom.
Shotgun.
Beyond Sunset is you've got like RPG mechanics, you've got horror themed games, you've got, again, it's not just taking the core gameplay of Doom, they're literally modifying the engine and doing things sort of within the limits of Doom, but like they're bringing it as far as they can. And there's at least like a good probably half a dozen or more games that are coming out in the next year or two that are using some aspect of the Doom engine, GZ Doom, and they're becoming commercial products in 2023.
Shells.
I feel like I'm still selling it short. I mean,
Health bonus.
so many people have talked about Doom and done documentaries and written books and all these things. So it's like, what can I say that hasn't already been said?
Shell.
But like I said, we all have our own stories of Doom. I have many memories, like with friends, with family, with like with Doom is what helped me learn the computer. It helped me learn how to configure hardware in the DOS days, sound cards and input devices, and learning about sound cards and other technical stuff. It made me learn how to set up things like so I could play multiplayer on the internet. I very briefly tried level editing, but at least the editor that I tried confused the hell out of me, so I never got into that. But I've heard there are some Doom editors out there now, and I'd have to ask Alan. I forget which one he recommended. I'd have to look at his emails. But he said it's actually pretty easy now, and so if I actually had more time, if I had time and if I set aside some time and dedication to look into it, I could do some Doom edit. I could maybe make some of my own maps, and especially if they could work with the Toby mod, that's awesome. And really, that's what I also like. I'll probably wrap up talking about the Toby mod and how impactful that has been. But I mean, Doom has just shaped a lot of what I love about video games. There's the Nintendo stuff on one hand, and then there's Doom. It's perfection. It's just the purest form of shooter. It's fun as hell. It's so good. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. And, it's gotten a lot of shit over the years from uneducated or ignorant people that just, they like, oh, video games, they hear the term video games and they just, either video games are for kids, and it's a waste of time, or video games are Satan's whatever, and they're gonna turn your kids into serial killers and murderers, and there's like nothing in between. It's like, that's the kind of crap that you hear from these old uneducated people. And thankfully, again, 30 years, the people that were kids are now adults, and so games are not the sort of taboo that they used to be. My coworkers play games. I don't know if they necessarily play Doom, but some of them probably do. But like video games, they're just a thing that people do, just like they watch TV or they go play golf or they play a musical instrument or whatever. Yeah. And another, just personal story, personal thing. I mean, of course, I have to mention, really bummed it didn't work out, but I have to mention 2019. It was Doom was a big part in my ex-girlfriend's life, Riley. I mean, I don't know if she'll watch this video, but I don't know if she still watches any of my videos or many of my videos or not. I don't talk to her too often these days, but we've talked a little bit via text back and forth fairly recently, but it still really sucks that it didn't work out, because I was so happy and thought that, like, oh man, I'm getting old here, but I hope I found somebody, and unfortunately it didn't work out. But like, that was one of our things is Doom. She had found my channel, and she had thought that Doom was a horror game, didn't realize that it was a well, no, I mean, yeah, you could it had horror aspects, especially based on the technology in the 90s. Yeah, Doom could scare the crap out of you, because again, you had these like strobe with dark lighting effects and growling demons and everything. I mean, yeah, there were aspects of it that in its day, it was kind of a freaky game. But yeah, Doom is, it's this balls to the walls action shooter. But she learned that it was, a shooter, really got drawn into the game, got drawn into the music, and, she became a follower of the channel, follower of my streams when I was just starting to stream around 2018, 2019. And then, we kind of started talking to each other, and she came up here for a little while, and everything that happened with that fiasco happened, but we played a lot of Doom and Left 4 Dead. Those were kind of like, I love Left 4 Dead. I would play that a lot with my friend Chris, and played Left 4 Dead for many years. Still enjoy it. Between Doom and Left 4 Dead, those were two games that we really enjoyed. And it's like, she would really love to have been able to play Doom. And I was just starting to kind of work with the Toby mod. I know I knew Riley knew about the Toby mod when she was up here, because I was testing, I think it was version 2.0, maybe 2.5. Because I remember the first versions, there weren't enough audio cues. So Alan had recommended that, yeah, if you're going to play this as a blind player, just because we haven't figured everything out yet, you should still play with God mode enabled. Because we needed like a targeting thing, or we needed a little bit more audio cues to deal with enemies. And so I remember doing that initial. It was the
Shotgun.
His custom map. It was based on the first level of Wolfenstein 3D, and I remember doing that with the monitor off and I remember Riley was in the recliner behind me and listening in, and I remember doing that Toby Doom video. But like, we would stream it. I would stream it. We'd play. It was just one of those things, we really like Doom, and so I have a lot of recent mixed memories of Doom. Like, on one hand, it was awesome, and it was cool to, have a girlfriend that really enjoyed that type of thing too. But it really got to be difficult because, we had the Doom reboot in 2016. And I love the hell out of that too. I haven't even mentioned that yet, but like, we're thinking, how can you revive Doom?
Health bonus.
The gameplay, the feel, the speed, and Doom 2016 just made it even like crazier. And you're thinking, okay, glory kills, that's not really Doom. That's like it feels like it would be too far away from what made Doom Doom. But you know what? It actually worked crazy well because it did not slow the game down. The animations, they would give you health or resources depending on like the implementation, and so like, you know, your glory kills would give you health, and they were fast, they were gory, they were violent, they were cool. And so I was really looking forward to Doom Eternal. Riley got sucked into the hype for Doom Eternal, and it was something we were both looking forward to. I remember when it got delayed, it was going to come out the fall of 2019. No. Yeah, it came out the fall of 2019. Or it was going to come out the fall of 2019. In November, I think it was. And then it got delayed to 2020. We're like, oh no, okay, well that's okay. We'll play when it comes out, whatever. So we were still, you know, hyped about it. We were still looking forward to it. And unfortunately, you know, March 20th, 2020, I'll never forget that date because that is the Doom Eternal launch date, but it's also the time that broke up, got dumped. And we didn't announce it right away, but it was hard. And, you know, again, March 16th was the first day. It was Friday the 13th. I had gone to work, and we had I had gone out on the road. I went to some school to meet with a student, do a tech assessment with somebody. I get back to the office mid to late morning, and I get into my new office because we just moved into my office next to a coworker of mine in the tech lab. And my buddy was packing up his office, and he says, "Yeah, I don't know if you read the email yet, but our head of our agency said, yeah, you know that COVID pandemic thing that's happening right now? Looks like we're going to be working from home for 2 to 3 weeks. So we've been told to pack up our computers and bring what we need to work from home, thinking, oh, we're just going to be working. Cool, we get a chance to not have to come into the office and work from home for 2 to 3 weeks." Only to finally learn that, oh no, you know what, this whole pandemic thing is going to go on for like a year and a half, 2 years. And for better or for worse, like a lot of tons of bad happened from it, but also the best thing to come from COVID was that, you know, traditionally slow like governments and businesses, because of necessity, learned that, you know, you don't necessarily, just because it's been done that way for the last 200 years doesn't mean it still has to. You don't have to, you know, you can hire someone and they don't have to sit in this exact spot, at this exact desk or office to get your work done. You know, I'm just as productive, if not more so, at home. I'm happier. I'm more flexible with my schedule, because if I don't have to travel anywhere and I need to do a virtual meeting, you know, it's like, oh, well, you don't get off of work or out of school until 4 o'clock. Well, I only work till, you know, 4:30, 5 o'clock, but you know what? I don't have to travel. I'll just start work a little late and then work until 6. Not a problem. And so thankfully, I have to give our management at where I work, but also our parent government agency so far, I will give them credit, is as other places were really being forced to come back into the office again 5 days a week. They've been pretty flexible about allowing remote and telework schedules. So go into the office when you need and telework when you can. And I've never been happier. But getting back to Doom, like I said, Friday the 13th, last day in the office, Doom's coming out March 20th. And just, that was a really hard day. That was a really hard evening. Because we were planning on streaming it. I was playing it a little bit. I was trying to like go into options and make sure that things were running. I wasn't playing the game, but I was like testing the graphic settings and making sure that it didn't crash. Because by that point, my computer was getting a little bit old. I was starting to think about upgrades, getting a new graphics card and whatever. But like they said, well, if it ran Doom 2016, you should be able to run Doom Eternal. Okay, great. So let's make sure this works. Troubleshoot things. Whoa, hey, Mr. Baron, Mr. Bruiser brother. Eat it. There we go. That was so much easier than Nightmare, or than Ultraviolent and Brutal Doom. Wow. I could literally just pummel rockets into those guys. But that was such a hard day.
Visibility.
Because, we're stuck at home in the pandemic. You end up breaking up with somebody. Breakups are never good. But this one was just really tough. And then on top of that, you're like, well, we can't go anywhere. So, like, we're kind of stuck with each other for, like, another 2 months. That's not awkward at all. But at the same time, again, we were both so looking forward to Doom Eternal. And don't get me wrong, there were things about Doom Eternal that I loved, but there were also a few things about Doom Eternal that I didn't love as much as Doom 2016. Taking the whole Riley thing out of it altogether. The thing I didn't like about Doom Eternal was there was a lot more focus on... Yeah, we'll skip that.
Main menu.
We'll start episode 2 here.
The Shores of Hell.
Yeah.
Choose your difficulty.
Doom Eternal was a lot more focused on traversal and platforming. They had bars you can swing on. They had bounce pads. I mean, Doom 2016 had some of that traversal stuff. There were platforming. There was area like, especially I remember the lead up to the first time you go into hell, and you had to climb up. I forget what it was like that tower, where you got introduced to the Mancubus for the first time. So I mean, yeah, Doom 2016 had its share of platforming, but it wasn't as bad. But there were a lot more places. There were a lot more times in Doom Eternal where I would get stuck. Because I didn't notice there was either some platform I had to jump to, there were certain ledges that you had to climb,
Blue key card.
there were, again, different like obstacles, there were things you had to either bounce off of, swing off of, jump to and climb. Sometimes there were switches that you had to shoot, sometimes there was literally areas of the game where it was like, you were going over lava, and there were spinning fire wheels that you would see in like the original Super Mario Brothers Bowser's Castle. It was kind of funny actually. It was like some Doom meets Super Mario Brothers Bowser's Castle kind of obstacles. And then there were places where like you had to you had to string all these things together. To traverse a level, and sometimes I just wasn't seeing that stuff and didn't know exactly where to go. So I had, Jesus, stupid imps. But I had trouble with that, and some of the level design made me a little bit more frustrated than I did when I played Doom 2016. I know in 2016 I had some trouble here and there, but Doom Eternal I had more trouble. But yeah, Doom Eternal, there were just gameplay things that made it harder for me as a low vision user to play. And so that kind of took me out of the experience a little bit. And then on top of that, you know, this whole game kind of being linked to like something that both of us were so much looking forward to. I wanted to go back and give Doom Eternal another chance, especially now that I have a new computer, better hardware, and I would be able to run it even better, and it would look even better, it would run better. I just haven't been able to bring myself to do it. Partly due to the gameplay things, and I know if I were to learn it, I could probably get past it okay, but like, fuck those Marauders, man. I beat a couple of them, but they were just, I'm not good at fighting those damn Marauders. They suck. Oh my god, no, please don't kill me. Hold on. Never mind. I was going to say, I'm going to totally die, and I so did. Okay, let's do that again without sucking. Yeah, between some of the traversal stuff and those freaking Marauders, man. I never got good at fighting them. So there's the gameplay stuff, but then there's just like, I can't not think of everything that happened around that time with the pandemic and the breakup. It turned one of my most anticipated games into a game that I just still kind of have trouble wanting to play for those reasons. And so, will I try, when I get some time, will I come back and try some more Doom Eternal again? Maybe. I might. I mean, like I said, there were things I did like about it quite a bit, but between some of the gameplay and the breakup and just all the stuff that was happening right around that launch date, yeah, I'll admit, I mean, that's a really tough one to go back to. Really tough. And it sucks because it's Doom. It's Doom. I don't want my favorite series to be tainted. I want to love Doom Eternal. I really do. But, you know, I mean, if there's, you know, there's other games and franchises where it's like, like the Zelda ones. Like, I love Zelda, but I really have trouble seeing some of the stuff in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Some of the most recent Zelda games I have not gotten into as much. So, you know, it's not just Doom, but it's other games it's other series that I just haven't been able to play some versions of the game as well. But that's all I'm really going to say about Doom Eternal. I mean, I do love the modern Doom games. It did a hell of a job bringing back. And the other thing I like about Doom 2016 is I love the overall, like, over-the-top, goofy, like, kind of tongue-in-cheek nature that they gave to that game, where Doom Eternal kind of took it more seriously. And, like, yeah, the Doom Slayer is cool. The Doom Slayer is badass. But I liked it when he was just this pissed-off space marine, and you had Mr. Optimus Prime there just being like, in order to do this thing, you know, carefully take this energy source out, and he just rips it out. Or like, we can work together, and you know, 2 minutes or 30 seconds into the game, you just whip away the monitor and throw it to the ground. You're like, fuck you, dude. Smash the communication thing with in the elevator with your shotgun that you just picked up off of a corpse. I mean, it's just, it was so good. But then, you know, Doom Eternal, again, they took a different kind of a different tone to it. And so there, you know, there were other gameplay things, and I don't know. Like I said, that's a whole nother debate beyond this video of, like, you know, Doom 16 versus Doom Eternal, and even some of the gameplay choices like, you know, oh,
Shotgun.
in Doom Eternal you have to play more of exactly the way they want you to, because there's, you know, enemies behave a certain way and certain weapons work better against certain enemies and techniques. Whereas Doom 2016, you could play it a little bit more free, like if you had a favorite weapon, you could kind of stick to it or whatever. So we won't get into that here, but I mean, I think modern id, you know, John Romero's not there, John Carmack's not there. Most, if not pretty much all of the people that were at early id are no longer there. But the people who are working there knew what made Doom great and knew what made Doom Doom, and did a hell of a job bringing back and modernizing that series. I'm very curious to see. I'm really genuinely hoping. I'm recording this the day before. I'm recording this on June 9th, and as this video is coming out, I hope there's something we haven't learned about. Like, I know John Romero, John Carmack are going to have a stream tomorrow or today that I'm going to be absolutely watching. But, But I'm really hoping that there's some secret surprise of like, oh, by the way, it's 30 years and here's a surprise episode or some surprise like, there was something that was listed, like Doom was at year 0 or something like that. That would be awesome if that came out tomorrow or today, is today when this video comes out. If we got some sort of brand new Doom announcement or shadow drop of some sort of not a modern Doom, but some sort of a retro original Doom feeling game. I know Sigil 2 is supposed to be coming out here soon. Maybe they'll drop that. I don't know. But I'm hoping that December 10th doesn't go by and just be like, yeah, we're not really going to do much. I'm very much looking forward to John and the two Johns talk. I will absolutely be tuning in for that, but I'm kind of hoping that for us longtime fans, I hope there's some really, really cool surprise. I would love there to be some cool surprise. Hi, Mr. Imp. Those are, so we talked a little bit about a lot of my memories in Doom, with Doom. Not just Doom, but the Doom engine games. Again, the sequel, Doom 2. The Super Shotgun, playing the mods, playing online, playing over dial-up, playing in LAN.
Stimpak.
Learning about the music. The music is just fantastic. Some of my later memories. And then, like I said, I just wanted to give just some sort of history on the game. It's like, how many things has this game influenced? Games are still being made in the Doom engine today. Mods are still being made and readily played today, 30 years later. And I'm going to just say, like, yes, it was technically in like 2019 you could start to play it. But the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to Doom and its impact in 30 years is I want to wrap up with the mod I'm playing right now. Now, granted, I'm playing it visually because this video is more about, I want to talk about Doom. I want to commemorate Doom's 30th anniversary, talk about it, remember it. But the Toby accessibility mod, and that has meant so much to me because starting this YouTube channel in 2012, the number of opportunities that I have gotten because of that and because of Twitter. Between the YouTube channel and Twitter, I have a second career. I have my day job,
Stim pack.
which I still really like.
Bonus.
But I love
Armor bonus.
my secondary career.
Clip.
Game, technology, XR, accessibility, advocacy, consulting. I've gotten to work with mobile app developers, indie developers, AAA developers, platform holders like Microsoft. Where the hell did you come from?
Stim pack. Medkit. Clip.
And so doing this YouTube thing, it's surreal to me still to even think about it, because I'm not doing this for fame. I'm not doing the YouTube thing for clout. I'm not doing it for money. I'm really not making any money on YouTube at all. I've made a little bit of money on the side with consulting. I've done that a few times now, so I can actually say I have a professional career in accessibility, because I have gotten paid to do it. So that's an awesome feeling. But it's been so cool to see the progress that game accessibility has made. I'm going to say since about 2015, because that's when I met Ian Hamilton. That's when we started seeing even a couple of news stories and a couple of games kind of gradually poking their head into accessibility, but it wasn't much. And now in 2023, we're wrapping up 2023. We've had multiple games this year alone have full menu narration, full audio description for cutscenes. We have a simulation game that is blind playable, a simulation racing game, Forza.
Medkit.
What The Last of Us Part 2 did for blind accessibility is outstanding. I mean, it's still incredible.
Clip. Berserk.
Oh yeah, let's punch some dudes in the face. Yeah, crack those knuckles, Doom guy. Let's mess some shit up. But like, yeah. It's no brutal Doom, but I can still use my brass knuckles, man. I can still punch these dudes in the face. Oh, I'm gonna die. You know what? Shot. Yep. Okay, I shouldn't have fought that many demons. Let's try that again, shall we? I got a little overzealous punching demons in the face. My bad. But we have a long way to go, yeah, but the amount we've come in the last few years, blind accessible games,
Shotgun. Stim pack.
is encouraging. I just got my Steam Deck OLED and I put a handful of games that are blind accessible onto it. Mortal Kombat 1 works great. Brock the Investigator works great. I got Diablo working, although I have not gotten the text-to-speech work. It's supposed to, from what I understand. It's supposed to work in Diablo 4 on the Steam Deck, but even though I have text-to-speech enabled, for some reason, it's not working. So I'm hoping to hear back from somebody about that soon, because that would be a cool game to play. Dang it! To play on a device like that. But getting back to Doom again, one of my most memorable things is the Toby Accessibility mod. I reached out to Mr. Alan D1 2018, 2019 and asked him about it, and we kind of got to talking. I started working with him, testing things a little bit, running a few potential ideas by him, and some of those have been implemented into the game. I've gotten to talk to him a few times. I actually got to interview him on my channel earlier this year. And it's just been so cool taking a game that I have loved for 30 years and being able to work on, even in some way, I'm not doing the development, but I'm doing, you know, I could call it game design, because I'm trying to think of, you know, okay, how would I, oh my god, I am just sucking. Wow. And what an embarrassing way to wrap up the video, right? I'm just talking too much, reminiscing too much, but it's been such a fun thing to have my foot in game development, game design like this, on a game that I've been playing and loving for 3 decades now, and being able to help bring it to a whole new audience of people. You know, people like Riley, who would love to be able to play the game, other blind friends who wanted to be able to play the game without no clip, without God mode, without cheating, to be able to play classic Doom, one of the most influential games, one of the most pure and fun games of all time. And 30 years later, it is largely playable to blind players. There still could be a few things added, and Alan is adding a few more things still to the mod. But the point is, like, even in its version 7.0 or 6.0. No, I'm thinking of 7.0 coming out. 6.0, 6.1, you guys. It's come a long way since that first version I recorded. Go back and watch the Toby Accessibility Mod playlist and go back and look at my 2.0 video, and then go look at my 6.1, 6.0 videos, and you'll see just how much more accessible this game has gotten, how many more tools and audio effects and just so many things have been added to make it more blind playable, make the levels more understandable. It's just really awesome to see that progress and to know that I had a small part in it. But you know, it just huge shout out to Mr. Alan D1 and everyone else on his development team that have helped with different aspects of getting features to work for the mod over time. Because it's, like I said, it's so cool. It's incredible what what we've been able to do so far. And I've streamed the game a couple of times. I've streamed it blind a couple of times. Hey. Imp. Die, you stupid impid. You done? No? Now you're done. No, you're not. Another one. Good lord. Yeah, they keep popping on all these different corners of the warehouse here. But, no, I mean, like I said, I've worked a lot with, you know, mobile developers, indie AAA developers, but, you know, so far I would say my claim to fame, I don't have my name in, you know, a AAA game credit or anything like that, or even an indie game credit right now for, you know, major accessibility consulting. And that is one of my ultimate goals is, you know, again, not for fame and not for clout, but just to say that, hey, I helped make, knowing that I did a good thing, knowing that I was able to help make a game more playable to an audience that would otherwise not have been able to play it. That's my honest to God goal. But my current claim to fame, I would say, is having worked with Mr. Alan D1 on the Toby Accessibility mod. I've had a lot of fun. You know, I've streamed it. I have I've gotten to interview him.
Box
Fun
shelves.
talking over email. I love when he's like, oh, guess what? I got a new build. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And seeing some crazy new feature that I didn't even think of and seeing it work is just really, really badass. It's really cool. And, you know, recently I did that video
Stim.
for that order that I made at the Romero store. And that, I gotta say, you guys, that capped off. I didn't record that video to brag. I just did it because I wanted to share it with Alan, and I wanted to share it with all you guys, and because it means a lot. Like, knowing that one of the main creators of Doom knows about the mod and gave you a handwritten card thanking you for making that mod for players that need it. It is literally sitting in it. I put the card back in its envelope. It's got its little demon seal on it, and it is literally sitting on top of my computer tower. I grabbed it. I'm holding it in my hands right now. It's just gonna be on my computer tower right now, and I'm gonna maybe think of somewhere to keep it safe, because that is one of my cool. That is, you know, I got my Optimus Prime robot. That is one of my coolest pieces of like nerd swag. But as far as gaming memorabilia, you know, again, it's for my favorite game of all time. It's from the creator.
Is required.
And, you know, it's something that Mr. Alan D1 and I have been working together. You know, again, like I said, I am not giving myself a lot of credit purposely, because I didn't make the mod. I gave him a few suggestions. I did some testing. And so, yeah, I can take, you know, I can have a little bit of credit, but again, I give so much credit to Mr. Alan D1 and his team, you know, the other couple developers that are working with him. But it's just so cool. I nerded the fuck out when I that day, like, I was on cloud 9 that whole day. I'm just like, yes. It was so cool. Reading something like that from John Romero. I still want to meet him, and like I do want to talk to him. Like, I don't care if it's on a Zoom call, but I would love to see him in person. I think we'd get along great. I would just love to meet him. I don't know, chat with him, shake his hand, whatever. He just seems like a cool dude, and you know, just knowing how much the game is meant to myself and so many other people. 30 years anniversary. We're gonna wrap up the video here momentarily here, but I think I've said what I needed to say. I don't think I missed anything. I think I covered like a lot of the innovations, the factual stuff, the amazing things that the Doom and the Doom engine and id Software created. I'm trying to figure out where this damn chitter is coming from. There's an imp here somewhere. Where are you? I found you.
Armor bonus.
Ha ha ha. I found you, you little bugger.
Clip.
But, and then, like I said, just telling you guys some of my memories and history of this game. Been playing it pretty much since the beginning. Grew up with the game, grew up with watching the game evolve over time. Offline, dial-up, broadband online, mods, accessibility, relationships, all kinds of stuff. So that is, I believe, where we are going to wrap up this video. I just will say happy 30th anniversary Doom. Hard to believe that it's been 30 years already, but it's been fun. And I'm just still impressed at how relevant the game is today. Whether it's the original game with mods, or the modern remakes, 2016 and Doom Eternal. Yeah, Doom is still pretty damn healthy today. So yeah, happy birthday to Doom. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And again, thank you, Mr. Alan D1, for the awesome Toby mod accessibility. Looking forward to seeing what's next. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, go play some Doom, shoot some aliens, check out the Toby accessibility mod, and have a good one. I'll chat with everybody again later.